राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजना। यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। जय राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजना। यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी। यशोदनंदन व्रज जन रंजना। यमुना तीरा वनचारी। जय राधा माधव कुंजा बिहारी। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। हरे कृष्णा कृष्णा हरे हरे। हरे राम राम हरे हरे। जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा दे। जय राधा श्याम सुंदर राधा दे। जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। जय कृष्ण बलराम जय कृष्ण बलराम। जय जगन्नाथ जय बलादेवा जय सुभद्रा। जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता जय गौरानिता। निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल। निताय गौरा हरि बोल। निताय गौरा हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल। निताय गौरा हरि बोल। जय सच्चिनंदन गौर हरे। जय सच्चिनंदन जय सचिनंदन गौर हरे गौरा गौरा गौर हरि गौरा गौरा गौर हरि गौरा गौरा गौर हरि निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौरांगो निताय गौरांगो निताय गौरांगो जय निताय गौरांगो निताय गौरांगो निताय गौरांगो निताय गौरांगो जय गौर हरि गौरा गौरा गौर हरि गौरा गौरा गौर हरि गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल गौरा गौरा गौर हरि गौरा गौरा गौर हरि नदी बिहारी गौर हरि मायापुर चंद्रा गौर हरि गौरा गौरा गौर हरि गौरा गौरा गौर हरि निताय गौर हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल जय प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा जय प्रभु पदा जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल एवं विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमती श्री भक्त वेदांत संस्कृतपाद की जय एवं विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्रीमती श्री भक्त सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय आनंद कोटि वैष्णव बंधु की जय नमाचार्य श्रीदास ठाकुर की जय प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद की जय श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण गोप गोपीनाथ श्याम कुंड राधा कुंड गिरि गोवर्धन की जय ब्रजभूमि श्री वृंदावन धाम की जय नवद्वीप मायापुर धाम की जय श्री क्षेत्र जगन्नाथपुरी धाम की जय गंगमय यमुनमाई की जय भक्ति देवी तुलसी महारानी की जय समवेत भक्त वृंद की जय हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जय निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बो हल्लोरीश से मुरली ओढ़ी हरे कृष्ण हल्लोरीश से मुरली ओढ़ी हरे कृष्ण हल्लोरीश से मुरली ओढ़ी हरे कृष्ण हल्लोरीश 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 श्री गुरु गौरांग शिवपाद की जय नमो विष्णुपदाय कृष्ण पृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी नाम नमस्ते सारस्वत देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारण विशेष सोमवाद पाश्चात्य स्थान गोपाल की जय थैंक यू मच फॉर जॉइनिंग रीडिंग फ्रॉम भगवद गीता share Bhagavad Gita chapter 2 contents of Gita summarized verse number 33 Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nasta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Sloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Okay, we are reading from chapter 2, verse number 34. Verse number 34 to 38 only. 39 we will have to cover separately, that important verse. 2.34 yeah. अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि कथयिष्यन्ति ते अव्ययाम् संभावितस्य च कीर्तिर्मरणादतिरिच्यते अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि कथयिष्यन्ति ते अव्ययाम् सम्भावितस्य च कीर्तेर्मरणादतिरिच्यते अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि कथयिष्यन्ति ते अव्ययाम् सम्भावितस्य च कीर्तेर्मरणादतिरिच्यते अकीर्तिं चापि भूतानि कथयिष्यन्ति ते अव्ययाम् सम्भावितस्य च कीर्तेर्मरणादतिरिच्यते. Word to word translation. Akirtyam, infamy. Cha, also, api, over and above. Bhutani, all people. Katayishyanti, will speak. Te, of you. Avyayam, forever. Sambhavitasya, for a respectable man. Cha, also, akirti, ill fame. Maranat, then death. Atirichyate, becomes more. Translation by Juvenile A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Prabhupada ki jai. People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. Repeat. People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. Verse number 35. भयाद्रणादुपरतं मंस्यन्ते त्वां महारथाः येषां च त्वं बहुमतो भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम् भयाद्रणादुपरतं मंस्यन्ते त्वां महारथाः येषां च त्वं बहुमतो भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम् भयाद्रणादुपरतं मंस्यन्ते त्वां महारथाः येषां च त्वं बहुमतो भूत्वा यास्यसि लाघवम्. Word to word translation. Bayat, out of fear. Ranat, from the battlefield. Uparatam, seized. Mamsyante, they will consider. Tvam, you. Maharatah, the great generals. Yesham, for whom. Cha, also. Tvam, you. Bahumata, in great estimation. Bhutva, having been. Yasyasi, you'll go. Lagavam, decreased in value. Translation by Juvenile Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada ki jai. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name, fame, will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. Please repeat. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant. Verse number 36. अवाच्यवादांश्च बहून् वदिष्यन्ति तवाहिताः निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यं ततो दुःखतरं नु किम्. अवाच्यवादांश्च बहून् वदिष्यन्ति तवाहिताः निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यं ततो दुःखतरं नु किम्. अवाच्यवादांश्च बहून् वदिष्यन्ति तवाहिताः निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यं ततो दुःखतरं नु किम्. अवाच्यवादांश्च बहून् वदिष्यन्ति तवाहिताः निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यं ततो दुःखतरं नु किम्. Word to word translation. Avachya, unkind. Vadam, fabricated words. Cha, also. Bahun, many. vadishyanti will say tava, your, ahitaha. Ahitaha. We are reading from verse number 36, chapter 2. Ahita, enemies, nindantaha, while vilifying, tava, your, samadhyam, ability, tataha, than that, dukkataram, more painful. No, of course, kim, what is there? Translation. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. Yeah. What could be more painful for you? Please repeat. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn your ability. What could be more painful for you? Verse number 37. Hato va prapsyasi. Verse number 37. Yeah. Hato va prapsyasi swargam जित्वा वा भोक्षयसे महीम् तस्मादुत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः हतो वा प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्गम् जित्वा वा भोक्षयसे महीम् तस्मादुत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः हतो वा प्राप्स्यसि स्वर्गम् जित्वा वा भोक्षयसे महीम् तस्मादुत्तिष्ठ कौन्तेय युद्धाय कृतनिश्चयः. Word to word translation. Hataha, being killed, va, either, prapsyasi, you gain, swargam, the heavenly kingdom, jitva, by conquering, va, or, bhokshasi, you enjoy, mahim, the world, tasmat, therefore, uttishta, get up, kaunteya, O son of Kunti, Yuddhaya, to fight, Kruta, determined, Nichaya, in certainty. Translation. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. Repeat, O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. Verse number 38. Sukha-dukkhe same krutva lava lavo jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujjasva naivam papam abhapsyasi. Sukha-dukkhe same krutva lava lavo jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujjasva naivam papam abhapsyasi. Sukha-dukkhe same krutva lava lavo jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujjasva naivam papam abhapsyasi. Sukha-dukkhe same krutva lava lavo jaya jayo tato yuddhaya yujjasva naivam papam abhapsyasi. Word to word translation. Sukha, happiness, dukkhe, and distress. Same, in equanimity, krutva, doing so, lava, alavo, both profit and loss, jaya, ajayo, both victory and defeat, tataha, thereafter, yuddhaya, for the sake of fighting, vijjasva, engage, fight, na, never, evam, in this way, papam, sinful reaction, avapsasi, will gain. Translation. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall never incur sin. Repeat. Do thou fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing you shall never incur sin. Okay, stop here. Try to understand. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Gnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langete Girim Yatkrupatamaham Mande Sri Gurum Denatarana Paramananda Madhavam Sri Chaitanya Yeswaram Pancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Sri Chaitanya Manobishtam Sthapitam Mena Bhutale Swayam Rupah Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Rupa Goswami Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. So thank you for joining. So we are discussing from verse number 34 to 38 today, chapter 2, contents of Gita summarized. So we are in the section where Krishna is discussing with Arjuna, where Arjuna had already expressed his 5 reasons, 5 questions or 5 doubts for not fighting, which is I have compassion for my own family. How can I fight against my own family members? Even though there are 6 kinds of aggressors, 6 kinds of aggression has been done by Duryodhana and party, especially Duryodhana, along with the association of Dusyasana and Karna and Sekuni. Because of that, they fed the poison, they tried to usurp the kingdom, they tried to abduct, take Draupadi in so many ways. 6 kinds of aggression, which is discussed in chapter 1. All these were done. But in chapter 1, but Arjuna was still he was thinking their family members. And so you can see the Vaishnava qualities in Arjuna. So that's why he was qualified to become a disciple here to and Krishna as spiritual master. He has surrendered. So first chapter, and then after seeing his own army on the battlefield, his side and the other side, Kaurava's side, he was somehow or other become conditioned on the family relationship. So that's why he told that I cannot fight because of compassion for my own family. Then I cannot fight because there is no enjoyment. Whom I am going to share? If somebody or the other or my family will be killed, whom I will share with? Then I will incur sinful activity. My own family. So then destruction of dynasty. So unwanted population will increase. Community projects will be stopped. So these are all the ripple effects of the killing, sinful activity. So and then finally in the chapter 2 beginning, in action, and then he could identify that his defects, he doesn't know what to do, what not to do. So he couldn't decide. Then it was in action. Then he surrendered to Supreme Lord Sri Krishna. So that was a pre-qualification. He had the qualifications to become that sincere. That means he could identify that he needs to approach some superior authority to understand the actual absolute truth, how to resolve the problems of life permanently. So then that's when he was qualified. Until that, Krishna was only speaking as a friend only. He was not actually instructing. And then after Arjuna surrendered in 2.7, that was section 2, and then section 3 began with Krishna started speaking about the Sankhya Yoga, analytical study. In 39, Krishna is explaining later on also same thing. So this verse number 11 to 30, verse number 30, that section is called Sankhya Yoga or Jnana Yoga, giving the analytical details about the body and the soul, because that was Arjuna's main problem, is identification with the bodily concept of life. So in this section also we will be speaking today later on about this external and internal. Then so Krishna started explaining about the body and the soul difference in various ways. Krishna started explaining that how soul is permanent, nitya, eternal, and the body is temporary. And then further he continued after explaining in those ways. He concluded that you should perform your duty. And then he came to they are going to Even Bhishma and Drona, even if you think that there are no, they have only body. Even body, even he started explaining about the even atheistic philosophy, even the Vaibhashika philosophy, and then Buddha's other philosophy. Those who doesn't believe the soul, those who think that after this body everything is over. Even if you believe that, then if it is just a matter of chemicals, the body is being produced, then what is the worry? And if you think the other way, then they are going to be born again, they are going to die because they are already old, Bhishma and Drona especially. So, what is the worry? So, in this way, various ways, Krishna started explaining that you are changing the bodies every minute, so you don't need to worry. So, they'll get new body, you'll get new body, and everybody is eternal. You and me, we both were there. You don't remember anything, but I remember everything. So we all were there in the past, and now we are all there. In the future also we will be there. In this way, Krishna explained in various ways. This is called analytical study. And so it is not actually Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya Yoga, this is Sankhya Yoga, apostrophe with a long A. Sankhya Yoga, analytical study, only in brief. Just the body and soul. That is the only analytical study of the body and soul. But real Sankhya Yoga means all the 26 elements, how this material creation has happened, not Big Bang theory, not some other theories. Actual creation, how this is happened, has been explained in Canto 3 of Srimad Bhagavatam and Canto 5, Structure of the Universe, elaborately described how these 26 elements has been created by the breathing of Mahavishnu, Karanodasaya Vishnu, and then Garbhodasaya Vishnu, and then Kshirodasaya Vishnu, how Mahavishnu expanded because of the desire of the living entities wants to separately enjoy from the Lord. That's how the creation has happened. But elaborately, and then how these 26 elements one by one came, in what sequence, and the rest of the creation is all explained. Whole Canto 3 is about that actual Sankhya Yoga, which is authority of Sankhya Yoga is Lord Kapila. That is actual Sankhya. In Bhagavad Gita is only briefly described, but only the body and soul. So Prabhupada talks about that, I think, in one of these verses in the purport. In this section only, I think, it talks about that. I think 39. Yeah, 39. Because Krishna talks about that. I have explained so far about analytical study. Now I'm going to speak about the next section, Nishkama Karma Yoga. That's what, 39. So that's why we'll discuss that next week. It's much more detail we have to discuss. So that is the karma, that is the Sankhya Yoga or Jnana Yoga. Now Krishna has to give this knowledge, as describing in the last week we discussed about this Swadharma or karma. This is the most important point, as Krishna before giving this dharma or karma, he has to explain the knowledge. Otherwise, it's very difficult to understand this. Actually, what is dharma? Means people think as a faith, as a religion, or so many ways they interpret this. But what is actually dharma means? Vedic knowledge, Sanatana Dharma defines that dharma means Sanatan Dharma. And means eternal occupational duty. Even if you forget any other word, it's eternal occupational duty. Occupational duty means what based on the quality of the living entity, what he is supposed to do. But it is temporary. Today maybe engineer, tomorrow doctor, general, that doesn't happen. But it is a one profession we take. But sometimes they do multiple things also. Or sometimes you act as a Brahmana or Kshatriya or Vaishya Sudra. But it's supposed to be based on the quality, not by birth, not because my father has done or you are born certain family because you are getting the heritage. Not supposed to be by birth. It is based on the quality. If you have the same qualities, then yes, you can act in that way. So it is based on by qualities. That is what Swadharma means. Dharmantu Sakshat Bhagavat Pranitam. This dharma is established by the law and order. The instructions have been given for a living entity, what to do, what not to do, what he is supposed to do. And then we discussed in this section, Krishna is giving Dharma Jnanadi Bija before understanding. Otherwise, we will not be able to. Without Jnana, you cannot understand Dharma. Right? If you tell your children, hey, don't do this, don't do this. So that means there should be first training. Culture must be given. We have to set an example and we should train them. Then they will understand why you shouldn't do this, why you should do this. If you straight away tell them, then they will not listen first time. They have to be trained. It's better we train, we show them example in our own life. then they can naturally follow it when we tell them few times. So that's why Krishna also has to give this knowledge. How? Because Arjuna was conditioned. Then Arjuna already Krishna removed the doubts of compassion. Your compassion is like learned man. What is it? Asochan, Asochan, Prajnavan, learned one or Aryan. But you are not acting on the platform. And then he removed the doubt. Your compassion is on the bodily platform. This is not good. So you have to act above that. Then further mentioned that no enjoyment. Actually, your enjoyment is there. You will get eternal liberation if you act on the above this platform. But you are acting on the lower platform. Give up this weakness. That is what Krishna is mentioning. And then in this section, and then further third doubt, and the second and third enjoyment and sinful activity, both are being described in the this section. This section from verse number 31 to 39 is called karma yoga or dharma, swadharma. So we should perform our own duties, not somebody else's duty. So cat or dog cannot take up tiger's job. So same as we cannot take somebody's job. So as we are describing the four varnas, four ashramas, especially Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaisya, Sudra, based on by quality. That means it is not by caste, it is not by birth, it is based on the quality only. That means intelligent class, administrative class, agriculture, business class, and then last one is worker class. These are the four classes. And what we come up with, what we understood is three things. First one is the cooperation must be there. The brain, which is the intelligent, and then the arms, the kshatriya, second administrative, the third belly, stomach is the Vaisya class, agriculture, business, fourth one is worker, Sudra class. These four, the brain has to cooperate with the hands, and hands has to cooperate with the stomach, stomach has to cooperate with leg. These are four departments, all four are important. Any one of them is not there, it's very difficult. All four has to exist, so that means cooperation must be there. Four systems must be there, but also they must cooperate. And they must perform their own duties. Brain cannot say, no, can you give me, I will do your hand job. Hands can do brain job. No, that is not possible. So that is dangerous. That's what Krishna is telling. You do your duty. Kshatriya, because Arjuna wants to give up this fight and go. He told in the 2.4 or 5 verse, I will give up. Even if you give me demigods places also, even if I get heavenly planet, still I don't want. I will give up. I'll just renounce and go to forest. Avapya bhuma asapatnam rudam. So he told. So, but later on he could understand. He cannot go anywhere with all kinds of false arguments. So that's why Krishna is mentioning that. So the cooperation must be there in these four parts, four classes of society. It cannot be classless. Then he cannot do. It will be chaos. There should be classes by the qualities, and then there should be cooperation, and then there should be cooperation and dependence. If just like the other parts has to be dependent on brain. Just like that, without brain, nothing will work because hand doesn't know what to do, how to pick up the food and put it in the mouth. It will not know because the brain is the one who is supplying that intelligence and everything, cognitive faculties, everything is coming from brain. And then heart is supplying the energy, so obviously, but the brain is functioning. All the nervous system, everything, the whole mechanics is there in the brain. So that's the brain has to be there. That's a dependency. So not only the cooperation, but we must depend. So the Kshatriya, the arms, the Kshatriyas and the Vaisyas and Sudras, especially Kshatriyas, Vaisyas, Sudra must depend on Brahmana, especially. And the Kshatriyas are supposed to rule under the guidance of the Brahmanas. So that way. Muted. Okay. So we are discussing about the 3.34. Second chapter, contents of Gita summarized, verse number 34 to 38 verse. We are in the Karma Yoga section. After Sankhya Yoga or Jnana Yoga, that is third section. We are in the fourth section. 30 to 38 today. So 33 specifically 38. So previous class we are discussing verse number 30 to 33, where I am just giving the recap. Three things are important, which is cooperation between all the parts of the body. Let me mute. Yeah, okay. So cooperation between the four different departments: administrative class, intelligent class, agriculture business class, and vice class. Same with the brain, the arms, the belly or stomach, and legs. Cooperation must be there, and dependency also must be there. Because without dependency, if any one of these will do independently, then it's a big problem. And also, it has to pay attention to the details. That also the third thing. The cooperation must be there, dependency must be there, and pay attention to the detail. Let's say if Kshatriya wants to fight, that's why it is mentioned here. Swadharmam chapi aveksha. That is the first 31st verse. And later on also we see so Prabhupada explaining Dharma, what is Dharma and Adharma must be known. Otherwise, this Dharma, what is the rules and regulations? Law and order. Who is defining that law and order? The government is defining. Different departments who have been given the power of authority, the police department or treasury department, different departments, they are defining what are the rules. What are the tax rules? Every year tax rules change, or every few years. So who is defining? Obviously under the guidance of the president or the state. Then under that, the specific department is defining those specific rules, law and order, defining. So in that same way, but they are dependent on the superiors, authority. So the same way, so these brahmanas, the brahmanas supposed to give the guidance, and kshatriya supposed to be dependent on brahmanas. So then it can work. Otherwise, it becomes chaos when they act independently. So dependency must be there and cooperation must be there, and they should act according to the qualities as we mentioned already in the previous class, and pay attention to the details. If they don't pay attention to the detail, they are absorbed, as we discussed in last week's class. Like the brahmanas, they are doing the deity worship, but then they are absorbed. They are supposed to worship the deity. Ejanya ajan patan patan dana pratigna. That's what they are supposed to do. But they have to pay attention to detail. That means whether the deity is pleased or not. That is the ultimate idea of performing the deity worship. Because if deity is not pleased, what kind of work or service we are doing? It doesn't make any. It is not going to transform. It is not going to help us. That is not. Then it is not called ashtam. Then it is something else. So that's why it is called. Vijabandhus, they are called those who are acting independently, not dependent on the Lord, and acting any of these four varnas, four ashrams. When they act independently and do things, then they are no more. They will get the mercy. They will be bounded or implicated by the three modes of material nature. Durga Devi takes care of them. She will make sure that they will be caught in these three modes of material nature. Traigunya Veda, Vishaya Veda, Nistraigunya Bhavarjuna. Krishna, the living entities are generally conditioned in these three modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance, mostly in passion and ignorance. So that's why. So here, that was the previous section. Now in this verse, in this section, Krishna is speaking more. So he is indirectly pointing out the defects. This is also important quality. Material and then the judgment, how the judgment should be given, done in general. So all those points of minute details Krishna is pointing out here. Akirtim chapi. So the 34th verse, Krishna is speaking about the infamy. Infamy and dishonor is worse than death. He is inducing Arjuna to understand his defects. But how is he telling? We should see. Akirtim chapi bhutani katayishyanti te avyayam sambhavitasya cha akirtim maranad atirichyate. People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death. Who is telling? Krishna is not directly telling. Krishna is telling people will always speak of you. People, not Krishna, is not directly telling. So he is indirectly pointing out the defect in Arjuna. As a Kshatriya, you are supposed to fight, But people will, because you are trying to give up this duty, because you are thinking, I will take up the role of a sannyasi, I will renounce everything and go to forest. So because of that, people will say that you are giving up, you will get infamy, so dishonor, because they will think that, that is the next verse also is coming. So because you are run away, you didn't do your kshatriya are supposed to fight, but you ran away, so it causes a great infamy, and that will be a greater dishonor, because Arjuna was very much attached to the name, fame and prestige. This is the kshatriya called two things. They can never run away from the battlefield, the fight. And second one is the prestige. Prestige means because they will have prestige. They will have the self prestige, because Kshatriya means they are, because based on his father's grandfather in dynasty, and that valor, that will be there, and this cannot be done by Brahmana. The duty of a Kshatriya, protecting the citizens, only can be done by Kshatriya. That's why you see in the example of Vishwamitra, Vishwamitra was doing the performing yajnas, because he is in the Brahmana category. When he was doing the yajnas, so many demons were coming in Treta Yuga. Then he could have killed, because he has the powers. He has so much mystic power. As Brahmana, one who is performing, really attached to the, especially paying attention to the details. If they are really performing the worshipping the deity and following doing the yajnas, they are really trying to please, as we discussed. If Hari and Guru is pleased, then automatically they will get the power naturally, because of their activity, to please the Lord. But Vishwamitra goes back to Dasharatha Maharaj and asks, these demons, so many demons are killing, putting all kinds of pus and urine and whatnot, they are spoiling my yajna. And so that's why I have come here to take your, please give me your sons, Rama and Lord Ramachandra and Lord Lakshmana. So then Dasharatha Maharaj obviously has to give, because even though he was attached, finally he had to give. He has given the promise. What can I do? How can I? Because Kshatriya, somebody comes, that is another quality also. So he is supposed to give charity. He has to distribute. He has to make sure he has to serve Brahmanas especially. And he has to be guided by the Brahmanas. And then so that's how Vishwamitra could have done that activity. But still he has acted in that way that Kshatriya is supposed to protect. So, as Lord Ramachandra appeared in the Kshatriya dynasty, so then Lord Ramachandra and Lakshmana, Lord Ramachandra especially killed all those demons, protected. So then he has given that service to Brahmana Vishwamitra. So here Arjuna, even though he is born in the Kshatriya category, but he is running away. So that's why Krishna is pointing out indirectly. People will speak of infamy, akirtincha, dishonor is worse than death. Especially Arjuna he was very much attached to his Gandiva bow. Anybody talking anything against Gandiva, then he will be very much disturbed, because so much he was attached to Gandiva and valor. So that's why he gives the promise also. Later on we see that how Krishna started, one of the Brahmana approached later on in Yudhishthira Maharaj's kingdom. He didn't had his sons were dying immediately as soon as they were born. They are disappearing. Then he was bewildered. A few times it happened already. Then he came, approached the king and told, this is what is happening. Then Arjuna said, nobody, I will protect you. This is I am the holder of Gandiva bow. Nobody can do anything when I am there. I will protect you. He gave that assurance. And that is the valor he got. That is the name. That is the fame and name and prestige Arjuna has had. So that's why Krishna is pointing out, what happened to your Gandiva bow? What happened to your prestige? You are given up. People are going to speak about that infamy. It's going to cause it's a great distress, dishonor. That will be worse than actually dying. So indirectly he's telling you should rather fight. Or you give up, die on the battle, even if you want to die, but don't run away. So indirectly he's telling, instead of Krishna is not telling, you shouldn't do this. Rather he is telling people will speak. So then Prabhupada also used to do that. So Prabhupada has done, also used to point out the defects indirectly. So when during especially, so Prabhupada was, one devotee in Hawaii, one of the Swamis used to have a great follower. He was a yogi, Siddha Purush, devotee, one of the sannyasi. He used to have hundreds of followers. Then they all came together and surrendered to Sri Prabhupada. And then Sri Prabhupada, but still they all used to follow, surrendered, but they still used to follow him, Siddha Purusha, all of his disciples, even though they all came and surrendered to Sri Prabhupada. And then, but he also not shaving his head and not carrying his danda, and there are few things he was not really following, even though he surrendered. That's why it is means when we come and surrender, but what real surrender, real initiation means, we follow the instructions of the spiritual master. That is very important. That is what actual surrender means. It is not for the name. It is not just the event or activity that day it is done, initiation is done, or sannyas initiation, whatever, first initiation, second initiation, sannyas, whatever, doesn't matter. Same thing, you are committing, and then you are saying that I am going to follow the instruction, but then later on you will do whatever way we like, then it's not good. So yeah, that's what is happening. Then Sri Prabhupada, instead of directly telling, he told indirectly. He was telling. See, some are saying that you are not wearing you are not taking danda while traveling. See here, he is bigger than, longer than, taller than you. Another Panchadravida Maharaj or some another Maharaj, another Swami. He is pointing out. See, others are saying, some are saying. Prabhupada didn't say, I am saying indirectly. He is not discouraging. He is encouraging. Here also, Krishna is encouraging. So that is another point, is a subtle point here. Even though the verse is not directly telling, but rather it's a subtle point. When we want to point out, especially those who are in the authority, manager, or any of those categories, the teacher, or as a parent, sometimes, especially when they mature, when they age, when they are small, we can directly tell them also. But it is better to tell in a way, encouraging way, rather than Saraswati. Prabhupada also said many times, don't say no to even kids. We all have to learn that. Prabhupada always said. So the Prabhupada always was fond of his father as well. Father, even when in the night time when he wanted puri, mother was not ready to know. It is night time, you shouldn't eat puri. And his father in Gauramohan Day, he said, no, if he wants puri, give him puri. Then she has to make puri and give. So that Prabhupada's father, he was always giving whatever he wanted. But at the same time, Prabhupada was also following him, worshipping the deity and doing the Jagannath Yatra. So he was following whatever his father. And he also quoted many times, because my father always serving the devotees at home every day, even though he was only earning some amount only. He was not so much attached to his job also. He was a cloth merchant. He was selling cloth, and he used to only do 8 hours or so, not so much. And he used to worship the deity, and he used to invite sadhus, sages at home, and he used to feed them nicely. He always taking the blessings and asking them, bless my son, that he will become the servant of Srimati Radharani. That was his consciousness, his thought. He was always looking for that blessing for his son. So in that way, he was always nurturing his son. So Prabhupada was always thinking in that way. In his humility, he was always saying, because my father has that, and he has served the Vaishnavas, and because of that, I received these blessings in this way. So, but Prabhupada always got encouraged by his father. Same way, Prabhupada he also encouraged his disciples. Indirectly, he is telling Siddha Swarup Maharaj that you should, others are saying that you're not taking danda, you're not shaving your head, and then you're not following the rules. And so one time also, he has received the garland, his disciples are received the garland, but Prabhupada was there. Sometimes Prabhupada used to put his disciples, give class. He used to sit in the audience. So sometimes Prabhupada used to do that. So that he was there, and then his disciple gave directly to Siddha Swarup Maharaj, but Prabhupada was there. Prabhupada was not given the garland, which is actually not a Vaishnava etiquette. So that means then Prabhupada told. So then with this Prabhupada didn't tell. So Kirti Prabhu was there, Prabhupada's servant. Then he told actually this happened. And then Prabhupada told. Then actually Sruta Kirti Prabhu has a good point. Prabhupada told. He didn't tell directly, indirectly. Prabhupada is telling, point out the defect, but in an encouraging way. Then Maharaj told, you should be trained. I didn't train properly. That's why this disciple has done that. Then Prabhupada told seriously, if you are preaching, what is your preaching? What kind of preaching are you doing? What good is the preaching if you are not training? Ultimately, your preaching is supposed to train. If you are not training properly, what are you doing? What kind of preaching are you doing? So Prabhupada has told. In this way, he was encouraging, he was also pointing out the defects, but not directly, indirectly. And at the same time, he is not making somebody a fool. He was always trying to point the defects in a way which is they can take up. Only very few times they may get chastised directly to if they are doing a serious mistake or something, but most of the times very gently pointing out the defects in indirect way, so that they learn the lesson, but at the same time encouraging. In another time also, Mayapur, especially in Siddham Mayapur, Prabhupada was always there for Gaur Purnima festival. Prabhupada was telling them to many of them, so especially I think Nanda Kumar, another devotee, he was always complaining, Prabhupada, this devotee is saying this devotee is doing that. Always he was complaining. Prabhupada told him, the rules and regulations are for you to follow. You are not supposed to instruct, oh, he is not following this rule, he is not following that rule. That is not up to you to decide. That is for you to follow. I have given the rules and regulations for you, for each individual, for them not to guide or not to instruct somebody else. That's a swadharma here. Means we should do our duty. We shouldn't be thinking that, oh, why, how come he is also same Brahmana category or Kshatriya category? Is on my same job. Is my in my same team, but why is he not doing it? First, do your own job, and that is who's taking. That is not our authority. Authority is manager or whoever, director or whoever is under that team. They will take care of it. Same as Prabhupada is instructing Nanda Kumar, a devotee, his disciple is instructing, and this is you are all discouraging by this criticism, by this complaining. You are actually discouraging. But my whole point of coming from Radha Damodar Mandir, I was satisfied. I have everything. But I am always trying to encourage, but you are all doing discouragement. This is not good. So, for development, for progress, so in this way, we should encourage our kids, we should encourage our friends, we could encourage our family members, we could encourage our other team members. In this way, we should be always in the positive direction. And if anything is there, indirectly, like Krishna is pointing out here, people will speak of infamy. This is dishonor is worse than death. So we can speak in that way, we can tell in that way that indirectly, not pointing out. Even if you say something that say, I also heard from my Guru Maharaj also that you put in a question way, not directly saying what your defect, but in a question, as a question, then it is not so offensive. When you put as a question, that means if somebody is doing wrong, then Prabhu, is this as per Shastra? So that then immediately he will know. Means he will question himself then whether I am doing right as per Shastra or I am not doing. So then he will have to go and think about or search what is happening, what Shastra is recommending and what I am doing. So this is indirect way of putting things so that they don't. It is not directly offensive way of and also Vaishnava way. Vaishnava etiquette must be followed. So that's what this verse is telling. Krishna is instructing indirectly, and then is also telling, this section is also telling how before, that's why in the fourth verse, later on 38th verse, 37, 38, Krishna is coming to that point. Actually, next section we'll see that determination is very important point. But before determination, there should be understanding of this cooperation, understanding of the defects. Otherwise, so it is very difficult to come to that Vyavasaya Atmika Buddhi. That's why he's speaking in the next section. He's not speaking now, because if the proper knowledge is not there, body and soul, the actual transcendental knowledge is not there, how will the determination will come? It cannot come. Jnana must be there. And also we should understand what is our Swadharma. Otherwise, how will determination come? If we don't know what we are supposed to do and we take our own decisions, there is no proper dependency on the authority, dependency on the Shastra, dependency on the Guru, then how will the determination will come? Determination will not come, cannot come. So that's he is pointing out the defects gradually. So that's why we see that this is not only now in Dhruva Maharaj's case, we see that clearly how this is happening in Arjuna, a little bit different, but more or less the underlying point is same, the determination. So when Dhruva Maharaj was instructed, when Dhruva Maharaj was there with his brother Uttama, Maharaj Swayambhu Manu, Brahma's son, has two sons, Uttanapada and Priyavrata. So and out of that here Uttanapada had two sons, Dhruva and Uttama. And then Uttanapada was one day he had many queens, obviously kings had many queens. So here principal queen was Suruchi. Suruchi was the main, somehow or the other he was favorable to Suruchi. So then Suruchi's son was Uttama, and then Uttama was sitting on the father's lap, Dhruva Maharaj's lap. And then Suniti's son was, Suniti was also queen, but not so favorable, somehow or the other, circumstantially. And then her son, Dhruva Maharaj, so seeing Uttama sitting on the father's lap, Maharaj Uttanapada's lap, then Dhruva Maharaj also wanted to go and sit on the lap. That time, then Suruchi has instructed, since you are not born from the, before even king saying anything, Dhruva Maharaj wanted to sit on the father's lap, is about to go. Then before Uttanapada could say something, then immediately Suruchi, understanding what's going to happen, then immediately she, with strong words, she told, you cannot sit on your father's lap because you are not born from my womb. If you need to sit, two things. Either you have to worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead Sri Krishna, by His mercy, then you have to be born, you have to die and you have to be born from my womb, then you can sit on your father's lap. Otherwise, at this time, you cannot sit on your father's lap. Then Dhruva Maharaj was, his lips were trembling and he was hissing like a snake. He was so much, because this is Kshatriya spirit. That's what here indirectly Krishna is pointing out. Arjuna's defects, Arjuna's determination is in check. Arjuna's testing, Arjuna being tested here, because he has completely forgotten his own original duty and his original qualities as Kshatriya. The whole thing has been forgotten. Dependency is supposed to be, because Kshatriya, the way Kshatriyas are protected, like the police department, under the authority, they are protecting because they have the protection from the government, that they, by their some law and order, they will follow, and then they have to, sometimes they have to do the violence, sometimes they have to fire, sometimes they have to shoot, sometimes they have to do whatever, chain up the others, lock them up, whatever they have to do, sometimes they have to do, follow, use, apply their violence. So same as Bhagavad Gita, sometimes people think that is a non-violence, Gandhiji's movement. No, that's where there is dharma and adharma. On what basis? That dharma is based on the under the guidance, supervision of the authority. The dharma must be following the injunctions of the Shastra. So here specific case, especially as per the rules, the Pandavas supposed to get the kingdom as Pandu Maharaj's heritage. But Krishna has given the options. Okay, already you want to rule, you can rule. Just give 5 villages, which is nothing. They can do rest of the whole 9 yards so much. It's a vast land. They can do that. But Duryodhana, and first of all, Duryodhana didn't have even basic understanding of what he is supposed to do as Kshatriya. He was so much puffed up with his own false prestige. He wants to enjoy the kingdom. He is not depending on the authority. Otherwise, Vyasdev, all these Brahmanas were instructed, but he didn't follow any authority. He didn't follow the guidance. They are supposed to be guided under the Brahmana. That means they are not depending on. That means he is whimsical. So that's the violence or non-violence. When there is a law and order has to be set, then they need to apply the violence, then they have to apply the violence. So that is the actual rule we have to see, not on our own idea. We may come up, use Bhagavad Gita as a Arjuna, Krishna is instructing violence here, so that I can eat meat, I can kill animals. No, that's not. That means we have a concocted idea. We don't have the proper understanding of Shastra. Krishna is nowhere he is telling to kill animals or use violence whatever way you like. Here specifically a Kshatriya is supposed to fight, because he cannot do like Vaishya Kshatriya, he cannot do like Brahmana duty. He has to do his own duty. Has to, based on the quality, he can only rule as administrative class, but he cannot do some. That's why he needs kingdom. He needs at least small villages. He doesn't need a big kingdom. So that's why Krishna has instructed them, but Duryodhana didn't listen. That's when inevitable it became, fight has to become inevitable. But anyway, so coming back to Dhruva Maharaj's case, Suriti has instructed in that way. Then immediately Dhruva Maharaj ran, came home and explained to Mother Suniti that this was happened, and then immediately Suniti instructed, yes, I cannot do anything, but what your stepmother has told is correct. Your instruction was very correct, because only way you can attain that position of or sit on your father's lap or attain, even Brahma has, first of all, you need to perform austerity and regulation. That is another point I'll discuss. Or the regulation and austerity, and on top of that, he has received the mercy of, because he has prayed, he depended on the mercy of the Supreme Lord. He prayed to the Supreme Lord. By his mercy, he has received. Not only that, Swayambhu Manu, your grandfather, he also done. He has worshipped the Supreme Lord. He had some desires. He worshipped the Supreme Lord. He fulfilled desires, and also he achieved liberation. So in the same way, you should also, what your stepmother, don't, first of all, she told, don't be envious because she spoke harshly. Don't be envious of your stepmother. What she told is actually, the instruction is very correct. Instruction, see the way Suniti is giving the instruction. This is the actual culture. She has all the Vaishnava qualities. So that's why, along with Dhruva Maharaj, she was also became liberated. She went back to Godhead. This is the point. Then Suniti instructed in that way. Don't be envious, and also and don't cause pain to others, because Surichi had caused pain to you, gave it great distress with those strong words. Then don't cause the same pain to others, because you have received the pain. So you shouldn't inflict pain on others. These two instructions are very important. Don't be envious of others. Don't inflict pain on others. So always, even if you are devotee or not devotee, even in any circumstance, this is the actual instruction. So don't be envious, because Duryodhana was envious. Duryodhana was from the beginning, day one, he was envious of Bhima. Day one, he was envious of Bhima. Even though Bhima can do 100 people's task, he could do so many Herculean tasks, but Duryodhana cannot do. So he was always envious of not only Bhima, but envious of Pandavas, because they are dependent on the Lord's mercy, because they were not thinking that I am great, we are great, we are warriors, or we have great qualifications. They never thought. They were always depending on, guided by that. But those who are not dependent, those who act independently, they are always proud of their wealth and resources, because of this contamination of this bodily concept of life, on the materialistic way of living. So because of that, and then wrong association. So that was the Duryodhana's character. But Pandavas, that is not the character. See, Dhruva Maharaj also has been instructed. Don't be envious. So Pandavas were never envious actually. And they never wanted to inflict pain on others. The way Arjuna is acting in the beginning, you can see. So actually, he doesn't want to cause pain. Even though they were ready to fight, he doesn't want to fight. That is the Vaishnava quality. So here Krishna is pointing out the defects. Before he wants to bring Arjuna into determination, fully fixed up in his duty to perform. So before that, he has to point out the defects indirectly, and he has to test his valor. So test his various Kshatriya qualities. So that's why he is speaking all these things. So same as in Dhruva case also. And then Suriti after that, Suniti instructed his own mother, instructed in this way, and then he told finally you should go and worship Supreme Lord and go to forest because Brahma has done this, Swayambhu Manu has done this. So then in that way, because he received the instruction from his own mother in this way that he has to worship Supreme Lord, and generally people go to forest and worship the Supreme Lord. So because of these, then he started going to forest. Then by understanding the super soul is given instruction as indication to Narada Muni. Narada Muni understood what's supposed to be done. Then Narada Muni immediately came to test to Dhruva Maharaj. He told, then he met Dhruva Maharaj. Then first of all, he told, you are a small boy. Why do you need? Actually, these things happen. By destiny, whatever activities you may have done in the past, the happiness, distress, this somebody may say so many things. But as a child, you are supposed to be just you should perform nice, sportive activities. Now, when you become older, then yes, you can perform this task. It is very difficult to perform. Go and do meditation, worship the Lord. It's not going to be easy. It is very difficult to find even for yogis. And you are a small child. And in this way, Dhruva Maharaj, actually, the Narada Muni was testing Dhruva Maharaj. And Dhruva Maharaj told clearly, he had the qualification. He told, I know what you are instructing is correct, but please forgive me for not following your instruction. And please, and also because I am in ignorance, please forgive me for my ignorance. And I am born in the Kshatriya, and I cannot take up this insult. It is a great insult, and such a strong words. My blood is boiling, so I have to worship Supreme Lord somehow or the other. I need to get not somehow or the other, but by worshipping the Supreme Lord, I need to attain this particular goal. I have this desire to get greater kingdom than the Supreme, greater kingdom than his father, Uttanapada. That means Swayambhu Manu, and greater than even that, unlike Brahma. That much he wanted, that kind of desire he had, but he wanted to approach the actual proper path. So that's why then he instructed he asked in that way to Narada Muni. But Narada Muni tested in so many ways. Few verses are there. Narada Muni instructed Dhruva Maharaj, no, you are a small child, you can just to perform sportive activities, you can go back home, and then after 10-15 years, then you can do this. Till that time, you can wait. So this is not the time, and it is very difficult to worship the Supreme Lord. And the yogis also perform so many thousands of years of tapasya, austerity, but still they cannot even approach Supreme Lord. So as a 5 years old child, how are you going to do this? It's not going to be possible. But then he was very much determined. No way. I have to do this. This is the only way. I am not going back. So this was the determination and confidence. But before that, he was testing the water. The Narada Muni was testing whether he has the qualification or not. So he is just testing. So and he was successful in his testing. In the test, he passed the test. So in this way, so here also Krishna is also here encouraging, in an encouraging way, he is also indirectly pointing out the defects, and he is trying to test also to Arjuna here. So gradually is going to bring him to the actually fixed up determination to perform his actual duty in the way how Narada Muni is instructed. And this has happened not only him, so he was alone, even in Narada Muni in his own case. When he was child, his mother was there, only one mother was there, father was not there, and his mother was also not wealthy, and she was only working under, he was helping, she was working for some, some, I think, Gurukula ashram, and she was serving, son of a Sudrani. So Narada Muni was just one and only, and then he didn't have anybody, and she was giving a lot of affection, and suddenly she died in a snake bite. And then before that, then he had 4 devotees, great devotees, Bhakti Vedantis came, stayed in 4 months Chaturmasa period, instructing on the transcendental literature and transcendental knowledge, absolute truth. Then Narada Muni served them, Narada Muni heard them with rapt attention, with a strong faith and determination. Because of their association, he come to strong faith, and because of their association, they also initiated him also in this process of Bhakti Yoga. Then after they left, immediately in very few days, very short time, his mother died by snake bite, by the will of the providence, he didn't lose his determination. He didn't lose his patience. He didn't lose that, oh, I don't have anybody now. He was not attached on the bodily concept of life. Rather, he remembered the duty and the instructions he received. But now we have everything. Srutakirti was telling, also pointing out how Srila Prabhupada was regulated from his day, from his all his life. He was always regulated. Means every day same schedule. Time is perfectly managed the whole day. When he wakes up, when he translates, when he goes for morning walk, everything is perfect timing. He never did in his whole life that one day at this time he will wake up, or second day some other time he will wake up. Always is a standard that even when he is traveling, doesn't matter what's going on, where he is, which country he is always following his own schedule. That means he is instructing actually his body and soul, all his bodily parts. But in our case, we are being conditioned, we are being forced by the senses, we are being forced by our mind. Mind and senses are forcing us to do things. So, and then we are not able to follow, even though we want to do, but we are not strong enough. We are not being purified by the holy name. So, as it is mentioned here in I think 36th or 5th verse, Dukkha Taram. It causes a great distress by your these activities, giving up your own duty. It is a distress. It gives. It is going to be worse than death. Where in Kevalastakam we see that dukkha taram hare namaiva kevalam, hare namaiva kevalam. There is 9 or 10 verses of Kevalastakam, beautiful verses. Where this also. So give up this distress will keep coming, but because you forgot the actual jewel of the holy name and you are running after this so many hundreds of things, obviously distress will come in the material life. But we should be after the actual real jewel of the holy name, and but you are after some other things, happiness and distress. That Krishna is pointing out later on also at the end of 39th verse. He is talking about so don't be after whether just for the sake of fighting, fight this happiness, distress, these things, sukhe, dukkhe, equanimity, maintain the equanimity and fight for the sake of fighting, because I desire, I wanted you to fight. He finally is indicated, indirectly is indicated in the last 2 verses, and come to the determination, fixed up determination. 37 and 38 is pointing out finally. So in this way, he is indirectly telling. So first of all, we have to regulate our life. He is telling you have to come to the regulation means you should perform your duty no matter what. Oh, because so many of my own family, I cannot do this duty because it is not giving me any pleasure. No, it is whether it is giving pleasure or pain. It is not your choice. You are supposed to do duty. That's it. Even the job also. Are we looking? Oh, because this is so much huge program, I have to work 24/7. I am supporting. I have to support this weekend or a couple of weeks. I have to support. Do we give up? No, we cannot give up because I don't like to do. That doesn't mean I cannot wake up whole night. I cannot do this. No, then somebody else will do. We have to give up our job at that time. The same way in the spiritual activities also, because I don't like to do this job, this service, that doesn't mean because I don't like and I should give up. Actually, any service which comes, because that's what through our chanting we are telling, O Hare, O Krishna, O Rama, O Srimad Radharani, please engage me in your service. And then we are saying, if service comes, no, I cannot do this service. Can you give me this service? No, that's what we are differentiating between one service to another. Whatever, if we are not able to do because you don't know how to do, yes, that you can ask for guidance how to do. But any service which we get, then we should be ready to engage in service. That should be the way, and we should be regulated to do that service. Krishna is instructing in this way, become regulated. That means no matter what, happiness, distress, cold or heat, doesn't matter. Srutakirti Prabhu is also telling one point, this is also always about encouragement and discouragement. Prabhupada was instructing, one time one of the sannyasi fell down in New York, this is 1976, in Henry Street, before this Brooklyn temple. There was a huge temple on 55th Street, a huge multi-storied building. So on that building, so in the winter time, So everybody used to take cold bath, no hot water, nothing. Everything, he was telling, everything was austere at that time. Now you have everything. Prabhupada arranged everything. Everything is there, very comfortable. But still we have a hard time waking up. We have a hard time regulating our own activities. We have a hard time following our own, our own duties, whatever we have. We are not able to perform. We have so much lamentation and distress just to perform ordinary duties. And coming to spiritual duties, also we have the same problem. We are not able to. One day we do, and second day we fall down. We don't do properly. So this, but there, even when we have all the comforts, we are trying to look for comforts. Even though we are in a comfortable situation compared to what they had 30 years ago, 20 years in 1966 when Prabhupada was there, nothing, no comforts were there. Actually, he didn't have anybody. But even not only that, even his disciples, those who are coming at that time, they also didn't have anything. Hardly much money and hardly any facilities. They have to take cold shower. They have to attend Mangalarti. They are running. So one of the devotee fell down and then he started also eating meat. And then he was criticizing Prabhupada as given my life and my time for Prabhupada and this and that. So many things he used to say, and he left, and then he used to do all kinds of religious activities. But he always liked prasadam. He used to come and take prasadam in the temple. He used to come. So and then when Prabhupada was coming that time 1976 to this temple, then Prabhupada is about to come, and all the devotees assembled outside and they started dancing and they were doing kirtan. Then this devotee came in and then asking why these devotees are outside. What are they doing? Why are they here? Then they told Prabhupada is coming. But he was interested. He came to take prasad. That's what he is. I came here because I want to take prasad. Even though they told that Prabhupada is coming, but he was not so much interested, kind of, because you can see how much offensive it is. But then at that time Prabhupada walked in, Prabhupada came. Prabhupada came and then immediately straight away everybody offered obeisance. He didn't offer obeisance. He didn't have any feelings. So you can imagine what kind of confidence he is in. But Prabhupada was so merciful. So he was always encouraging. He came directly to that person, that devotee. Seeing that, immediately he came there and then he asked, because Prabhupada trained him in cooking. So we have to always train, as I was telling. So here also Krishna is telling Arjuna also, you need to act. Otherwise, what kind of training you are going to give? You are a Kshatriya, you are the leader, especially in Pandu's dynasty. You are supposed to act as a leader and then train others. But you yourself is not acting on that position and acting, doing your duty. Then how you are going to instruct others? How you are going to set example? This is not good at all. So that the training must be proper. We should act as an example, and we should also encourage others. We should also train others properly, in a proper way. So here also Sri Prabhupada was encouraging. He directly came to that person. He trained him before. He used to cook for Prabhupada. Then Prabhupada told him, he used to cook. So while I am here, can you cook for me? Then immediately devotees who were there, they came to Prabhupada, and Prabhupada, he eats meat. So he was always criticizing, complaining. So then everybody was there. Prabhupada was talking to him. Then they told. Then Prabhupada didn't pay any attention. Then he told, can you cook for me? Then he said, yes, Prabhupada. Then in that way he encouraged, and then he started cooking for Prabhupada. So this is the mercy of the Sri Prabhupada. He is more merciful than Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, more merciful than Sriman Nityananda Prabhu. He told, I am not Lord Chaitanya, I am Lord Nityananda. I need everybody. So he is very, in a humble way, Prabhupada was instructing and always encouraging. Even not only one devotee, many examples are there. Always Prabhupada, even somebody fell down, even somebody has taken money, even somebody has done so many things, even as a temple president or treasurer, so many things. Still, because why? Because as a devotee, you are supposed to be following the rules, but sometimes when we don't follow, because after 5 years, 10 years, we become relaxed. Our process becomes slackened. That means we don't chant properly. We think that I am a great devotee. One day I sleep chanting, then no, it doesn't matter. No, it matters, because that means we are captured by Maya. When one day we miss chanting, then we are captured by Maya, actual energy. We are so strong, then immediately we can be allured by anything, unwanted activities, irreligious activities. Very easy to get attracted, very easy to fall into unwanted things. So, because so much is there, so many advertisements, so much is there in the internet, so much is there when we walk outside. So it is not, it is very difficult to control our sense, because senses control is not easy at all. So that's why we should be regulating is done through this natural, blissful process of chanting the holy name. So Nitya Siddha Sadhya Kavana is Sravanadi Suddha Chitti Kara Uday. Only way it can arouse is by chanting and hearing. That must be done regularly. So in this way Prabhupada is instructing. So because of the regulative principle, that means the chanting and the hearing and worshipping the deity, these three things, and the and taking the association of devotees, as Prabhupada is mentioning, that Teja Durjana Samagamam Samsargam Bhaje Sadhu Samagamam. So we should always worship and take the association of the great devotees, Vaishnavas, who are attached to Krishna and spiritual master in their service, in their Nama, Gana, Sadaruchi, the holy name, or the hearing, the various services, or the pastimes of Supreme Lord. So by serving them, by associating with them, then Bhaje Sadhu Samagam, by associating with those kind of people, then we also become regulated. But if we take the, so we have to give up the unwanted, those who are too much attached to sinful activities. Durjana, that means like Duryodhana, Dhritarashtra, completely so much into intoxications, so much they don't know what they are doing. So they are whimsical. That means there is no proper guidance. They are not, whatever they like to do, they want to do. So this is not good, especially. So that's why the Shastra is instructed, Prabhupada is instructing, Durjana, Teja Durjana Samsargam, so which is causing great pain and distress, great attachment, are causing us to be suffering in this material world, then we have to give up those association. It is not favorable. So then that's why here, so Sri Prabhupada is always encouraging, because they are not able to follow, that's when they fell down. These devotees, whoever. But still Prabhupada was encouraging, at least he still has a taste for the chanting, taste for the prasadam, at least one, whatever. So he was always, okay, come back to 16 rounds chanting, or try to follow. He is not fully very strict or enforcing. He was always encouraging. Some of the come back and do some service. What can I do? Translate books, staple the papers, do something, printing, or recording, painting, whatever. In this way, Prabhupada always fanned that spark of the devotees, encouraged in this way. So that's what here Krishna is also encouraging, and here and regulating, bringing the regulation to Arjuna. Your senses, you are getting agitated. Your senses must be in control. If Kshatriya, if you are not controlling, then how are you going to set the example for others? This is dishonors in worse than death. And he's telling in these verses also, you are running out of fear. In the 35th verse, he's telling, you are running out of fear. But as Kshatriya, you should be fearful. You should not be fearful. But rather you are running out of fear. That's what people think. Even though you are thinking that, because he has given various arguments, compassion, enjoyment, sinful activity. But he is telling, but they don't look at you because you are running out, because you are compassionate. No, they will think that you are running out because you are fear, you are coward, you are running away out of fear. Only they will think. This will be the worst. Rather you should give up your body. You should die on the battlefield. Krishna is instructing very seriously here. Is testing him very strongly. So out of fear, because as Kshatriya is, that's why there's a verse. What is it? Bajahure mana Sri Nandanandana Abhaya Charana Ravindare. So Sri Prabhupada's song is Bajahure mana. Sri Prabhupada is, so always let my mind be absorbed, worship that personality, Supreme Lord, Sri Krishna, Abhaya Charana Ravindare. Who can become fearless by worshipping that Supreme Personality of Godhead. So because the devotees, because those personalities who take shelter of the Supreme Lord, they will be protected. So always, how Kshatriyas are always become strong and being protected, because they are being guided, like Janak Maharaj, Ambarish Maharaj, all the great Pandavas, Because why? How they became powerful, how they became so strong, despite Prahlad Maharaj, you name it, all these great kings, all these great personalities, because they are being taking shelter of the Supreme Lord. That's why they are became fearful. They have become fearless. They become fearless because they have taken shelter of this Abhaya Charana. And the Prabhupada's name is Abhaya Charana Bhakti Vedanta Swami. Fearless. Otherwise, who has the guts to come from all the way without having anything, to come from all the way from Vrindavan, from India, through ship, through 3 heart attacks, coming to New York, and so many things, so many difficulty he had to face, so much opposition, so many times the devotees put into jail or whatnot, so many things, so many court cases. But Prabhupada, it was not discouraged at all because he was carrying his spiritual master's instruction. He was always regulated. He was not, today let me not do this or that. He was always pushing on the movement. He was sometimes hardly 1 or 2 devotees came to, even though despite their endeavors for the lectures, big program they advertised, they spent money, but then hardly 1 or 2 came. Prabhupada was not discouraged. Prabhupada mentioned Narada Muni came in, you didn't see. So that was the Prabhupada's mood. Prabhupada is always patient, tolerant, always fixed up in the service to his spiritual master. So here, that's why Krishna is instructing Arjuna. Give up this kind of fearful, you become fearless, take shelter of me, indirectly is telling. So, because I desire, you should fight. So, I desire this fighting, because this unwanted population must be killed, all of them, because at that time, not only because on the battlefield Krishna wanted Duryodhana, Dhruva, not only just them, especially Duryodhana and party, but all others, so many, Jarasandha and so many kings, Kalaya, so many were there. Jarasandha already fought 21 times, or so many times, he brought so many kings, different kings, so many were there already. So Krishna wanted all of them. So many of those kings who doesn't follow, who doesn't take the shelter of the Sadhu and Shastra and Guru and the Supreme Lord, then they should be killed, because otherwise they don't set the right example. Then society becomes classless and chaos. So that's why here Krishna is instructing Arjuna. Rather, this is a dishonor. This running out of fear is not good. Actually, you are setting wrong example. Whatever reasons you are giving, Krishna is giving counter arguments. They are not going to think of your compassion, your enjoyment, whatever reasons you are given. Rather, they think that you are running out of because fear. But you are supposed to be fearless. Then Krishna is describing, yes, not unkind words, scorn your abilities. They will think that this is Gandiva bow. What kind of Gandiva you had? You are supposed to be holder of a Gandiva, but you are running away. So that means you are just on the namesake only. You don't have actually qualification of a great Kshatriya. You are not Maharadi. You seems to be lower than Rati. You are running away out of fear, running away because you don't want, you cannot fight. You don't have the strength. You don't have the Kshatriya qualities. So that's why Krishna is bringing that dishonor is worse than death, and all kinds of unkind words. So they will put you in distress. Then finally, Krishna is bringing the point. Yeah. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. Yuddhaya Kratanichya. Yeah, this is what. So we need to have the determination. Yeah, that's why telling there is also internal point here is absorbed in the internal consciousness. Don't be absorbed on the external consciousness. Many times on the material level also, the job as Arjuna is also on the bodily concept of life. As a Brahmana, Vaishya, Kshatriya, Sudra also, most of the times they are in the external consciousness. That means they are too much into the rituals. But internal, they are supposed to be internal consciousness. Today we are hearing from Guru Maharaj about the class, Sarabham Bhattacharya seeing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taking sannyas from the Mayavadi sannyasi, Keshav Bharati. Then he had his doubts because he is also coming from that Mayavad philosophy. Sarabhava Bhattacharya, he was the greatest Pandit. He has studied all the Vedanta and Sutra, but in an impersonal way, from his own logic and arguments, from his scholarship. And on other side, there is Gopinath Acharya, is a great devotee of the Lord, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Then he told, you are in the external consciousness. By your logic, by your argument, by your knowledge of the Shastra, knowledge of the Vedanta, you can never understand the Supreme Lord by your external consciousness, external level. You have to go deep within internal consciousness. You have to come to Atapi Tedeva Padam Bhujadvayam Janapi Tatman Bhagavan Mahimno Chiran Vichanvam. Yeah. Ekop Chiran Vichanvam. You need to come to the take shelter of the Supreme Lord, the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Atapi Tedeva Padam Bhuja. Padam Bhuja means two lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. Then automatically you will be able to understand this subject matter. Understand who is the Supreme Lord. Understand the actual qualities of the Supreme Lord, understand who is the devotee, understand the qualifications of a devotee. So, because otherwise you will be after all other things. Either you will be going after the mystic perfections or you will be going after the Brahma Jyoti, Brahman effulgence. You are trying to get the happiness through different mediums, but you are not actually getting the real happiness where unending, unlimited bliss, happiness is there in taking shelter of the Supreme Lord, who is the source of everything. That's why, so Gopinath Acharya quoted this verse and instructed Sarabhama Bhattacharya. Later on, by the mercy of Gopinath Acharya and other devotees, then gradually he could understand and he received the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu explained him also the purport of the actual Vedanta. In this way, we have to understand the actual, we have to be situated in internal consciousness. So it is internals is important. The detachment is internal, it is not external. So he is telling Arjuna, don't be detached external, don't give up your duty. You should be internally detached. That all is, everybody belongs to Krishna. Whatever Krishna desires, I should do that duty. Even though it is painful for me to do, even though sometimes if your finger is something happened to the finger, so doctor may say this is disease, otherwise your whole body will be diseased, you have to cut this finger, then you have to follow the authority and you have to cut the finger. Nothing much you can do about it, even though it is going to cause pain. Same as, so when Krishna desires, Shastra is desiring, the great devotees, Brahmanas are instructing that must be done, even though that may be unfavorable, that may be causing distress or pain to you externally, but it is internally, it is very good, because that is what is going to help to come out of your conditioning at the time. So in this way, these verses, Krishna is telling the instructions are, so how to be finally essence, main points is how to be determined that there will be testing period. We all have to go through a test at each and every stage before surrendering to spiritual master. There are so many tests. We will lose faith, we will not have faith, we will not be sure whom should I surrender, whether I should surrender first of all to spiritual master, why should I surrender? So I am happy here, I am still too young, I still have a long time to go, even though we don't know what time anybody can live, how long we live, we don't even know, but we think that we have a guarantee period, that 60 years we are going to live or something, and then we take it for granted. So, but Shastra is clearly telling, so there is no guarantee for anybody. So, the determination and then the judgment must be done based on whose order, under the grounds of the Supreme Lord, under the grounds of the authority, the bona fide spiritual master and the Shastra. That should be the ground, not whimsically coming up with the judgment, as Arjuna is giving all these various reasons based on his own ideas and thoughts, other minor dharma shastras, but actually not the actual the instruction of the spiritual master or the actual or the Supreme Lord or the actual Shastra, highest dharma, Parva dharma or Bhagavad dharma. He is not following that. So, and then obviously encouragement and discouragement, that also we discussed. Another point is the regulation. Yeah, do what's best. Yeah, that is the main point. Do what's best for others. Now, because Prabhupada instructed many times, he could have instructed that song, hey, give up this eating meat, start chanting. He could have told, come back to this regulation or this or that. But rather, he instructed, do what's best for others. So, if he has the quality to, he is good in cooking, So Prabhupada encouraged him to engage in cooking. So him knowing he's already in a distressed condition, he is conditioning. Prabhupada encouraged is fanning the spark of his some quality, little bit whatever quality he has to Krishna. So then he engaged him in cooking back, so that gradually he can be purified, because by cooking for spiritual master and by cooking for the Supreme Lord, gradually, slowly, he can come back again. So some devotees has come back. Those who have fallen down also come back. Prabhupada, by his Prabhupada's mercy, Prabhupada never disowned anybody unless wantedly they themselves went and left and gave Prabhupada and gave up Prabhupada and went. Then that is their own decision, and then they will have to go through their own consequences. But whoever Prabhupada always, till his last minute, he was always instructing, he was always merciful, compassionate, he was always trying to instruct what is best for others. He is not thinking what are they going to do for me. Generally, we look at that way. What this devotee is going to do for me, how he is going to help me. So that's what we constantly look, whether job or outside in community. We don't wholeheartedly, we don't do without expecting anything. We don't do to please the Supreme Lord. We don't do act in that way. But Prabhupada is always looking what is best for others. So that is these are the various instructions from these specific verses. Any questions? Yeah, the final, that's why Prabhupada is pointing out in the last verse. They worship Bhutaptanunam Nayam Nunich Rajam Sarvatmana Saranam Saranyam Gato Mukundam Pariharta Kartam. So give up all kinds of, don't depend on so many other things. Depend, take shelter of Krishna, because Krishna desires, I am desiring this fight. Just do the duty, perform your duty, give up this all kinds of unwanted thoughts you have. Come to the determination, give up all other things and fight for me. Fight, so give up all other things. That's what Krishna is saying, and Prabhupada is quoting that verse because we are indebted to our fathers, forefathers, demigods, and so many sages and other living entities, and so many things. But minute we surrender, we serve the Supreme Lord, then we don't need to separately endeavor, try to read this book, try to chant this mantra, that mantra, try to do this service, that service, going to this temple, that temple. No need, no necessity. Krishna is directly telling in Bhagavad Gita, so everything is coming from me, just surrender unto me. Sarva dharman parityajya, that is the ultimate point Krishna is giving up. Even though he is telling, each and every chapter is telling ultimately, every chapter is telling, but the end again is concluding with that. Give up all other dharmas. That means you might be thinking this dharma, that dharma, this is the first and foremost I need to perform. No, give up everything, depend on Krishna and just do it for Krishna. Whatever your activity, your duties are, but do it for the pleasure of Krishna, to satisfy, to please Krishna as a duty, not attached to the results. And that's what is coming to. That's why next section. Before talking about, that's why 39th verse is important. We'll discuss next week. It is a elaborate verse to discuss. 39th verse onward. He is already giving the glimpse of Buddhi or Bhakti Yoga. Prabhupada is talking about. So that's why we didn't discuss that. Any questions so far? Already 9:39. Any questions? Any questions on the phone?
No question. No question from me.
Okay, good.
Krishna.
Yes, Mataji, go ahead.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I especially like the point where how Prabhupada was just, instead of pointing out how he was encouraging, but just pointing out how, whether you're doing it as per Shastra or not. The same thing if we want to follow it, follow the instruction at home with our kids. How can we say that, Prabhuji? Because they are not very much acquainted with Shastra. So, any pointers on how we can also do it gently without hurting the sentiments of the children?
So that's why Prabhupada always looked at, by looking at like Sruta Kirti Prabhu has certain qualities, and then other devotees have certain qualities, what they like, what they don't like. So that's why based on their mood, their qualities, accordingly Prabhupada used to engage them engage them in particular way. So instruct them in a particular way. So depending on the same way, so we should understand, like kids may like to do certain things. If you have 10 things to do, so then out of 10, maybe 2 or 3 things they like to do. Then first we should engage them more into those. In other activities, so we can ask them first, let them do what they like, and then gradually they can do other things. Slowly and gradually they will come to that. But if you force them, even for chanting, reading, then it's very difficult. We should encourage them, we should tell them, chant, this is good for you, this is going to help. So in this way, then we instruct them, we encourage them in this way. And we should never say no, but it requires training. It requires training for all of us. So in this way, Prabhupada has instructed all of them. So by looking at their qualities, Prabhupada has encouraged them and engaged them. In some cases, Prabhupada has to make some strict decisions. In some cases, when there is a disagreement, when there was some difficult situation between few members in a certain temple or in a certain region, as because of GBC or whatever, Prabhupada seeing what's happening, whether if it is affecting the whole temple or affecting the region because of certain things, then he used to send them, okay, now you are relieved of this position, you will be going here to preach, doing some other duty. Okay, Prabhupada is to, okay, you do this duty instead of doing this duty. In this way, so Prabhupada has to look at what is happening, time, place, circumstance. So Prabhupada was instructing based on what is good for them. She is always looking at what is good for them, what in the interest, and what they like to do. So most of the times that's how Prabhupada was encouraged all of them. So same way, so we should also look at our kids, what they like to do, then accordingly engage them in slowly in those things first, encourage them, and then gradually other things, whatever it is good for them, even though they may not like to do, we should add on those things also. Few things at a time, not overwhelming them with hundreds of things because we like them to become a great devotee, or we like them to become all of a sudden, because we are always comparing with others. So somebody is chanting 100 verses, he knows Bhagavad Gita, he knows Bhagavatam, he knows he chants 16 round, or he does these things. Then we shouldn't be comparing with other devotees. We should encourage them in whatever, because every devotee, every son or daughter is different, individual capacities, they are coming up with based on their past karma, they have their own things. So it is not easy, but we can encourage them and slowly and gradually. And so that's where reading and giving the association is very important. Always bring them to the association of devotees. Now it's difficult, but they can attend through the phone. The advanced devotees taking their hearing and association in that way, and then serve them in whatever capacity they can gradually. Then slowly they can attain that quality, attain that interest in understanding Shastra, doing some service, do something for Prabhupada. Yeah, this also can be done naturally. If you like to do for the engage them in Prabhupada's service, any service Prabhupada. When we walk into temple, they can, even at home, they can bow down, they can stitch something, they can offer flower for Prabhupada, they can offer water for Prabhupada, they can iron Prabhupada's clothes, they can iron Prabhupada chanting bag, so they can wash Prabhupada chanting bag. This is also another thing. Prabhupada, actually chanting bag is supposed to be washed every day. So we see that when we go to Prabhupada Guru Puja, so we iron Prabhupada's clothes, including chanting bag. We put the new chanting bag, and so everything. So because the dust is always there, clean, everything clean. Prabhupada always, because today is Tuesday, I cannot shave or something. There is no rules like that. Always clean. Always he presented him in a Vaishnava. Sutakirti Prabhu was explaining also. Prabhupada always presented in a very Vaishnava way. His demeanor, his appearance, his clothes, everything very, because otherwise he is always simple. He also mentioned all his rooms. Most of the rooms are simple, very basic. You didn't have too much in one or two places. Bhaktivedanta Manor or something has a little bit more facilities in his room, but he always very comfortable. And then he was also explaining about Radha Damodar Mandir. Sometimes we will be, Krishna will create a situation to make us humble. He was telling Radha Damodar Mandir, the height is only 4 inches. The room, the kitchen and the other room, two rooms they used to have, Prabhupada is staying. And then to come out from that room, they are only 4 inches height. And a few times it hit his head. So the Prabhu is a little bit longer height. So then it hit, and Prabhupada was told him that, yeah, to make you humble, so Krishna made this. Sometimes Krishna had to make us put into the situation so that we learn our lessons, because we have some wrong thinkings, wrong ideas, or wrong thoughts. So Prabhupada and the Supreme Lord and Guru makes us correct us, to correct us, so he will put in some situations also. So that's why we have to see all these things, how Prabhupada has done it. Accordingly, we should also encourage them. Also, serving Tulsi Maharani in whatever way, stitching the skirt for Tulsi Maharani, watering Tulsi Maharani, offering Tulsi leaves to the picture. It doesn't need to be deities. You can do all these to the pictures also. So it is in this way simple worship. Bhakti yoga is very simple, but we only complicate. We put so much rules at home. We doesn't need to have too much rules, but simple things. Some basic training must be there. Gradually, at least when they become older and older, then they should be taught, because the same tendency will continue and later on after 16, 17 years. And then they cannot change so easily after 17, 18 years. Yeah, before that only we have to instruct them, we have to guide them, we have to nurture them. So it's a difficult task, but it can be done with patience and enthusiasm and determination, slowly, and without comparing with other devotees, other devotee kids, or other kids, because everybody is in their own way. They are doing their own in way. They are doing their within their capacity they can do, but we should try to put them in these various slots depending on what they like to do. So somebody wants to do kirtan, somebody wants to play mridanga, somebody wants to teach, somebody wants to paint. So many different activities. Bhakti is not one thing. That's why you see Prabhupada's disciple. Some are good in some things. So they got those. We see so many Matajis has painted wonderful paintings in Krishna book and other books. So only few devotees done that. Some devotees completely in editing, like Jayadvaita Maharaj and Gopi Parandan Prabhu and Mukunda Datta Prabhu Dravid. So Prabhupada, seeing their quality, engage them in certain things. They didn't do anything else. Like Sutakirti Prabhu. Servant means, Prabhupada servant means only just taking care of what Prabhupada wanted. They are ready to serve. As soon as bell is rang, immediately they are there to serve what Prabhupada wanted. Nothing else, no other. They are not to clean or do any other services. Their service is only just to take care of Prabhupada service. So because accordingly, yeah, like that, Prabhupada knows who exactly and what their quality is. Accordingly, Prabhupada engage them and encourage them in those aspects. So then gradually they become perfect. So other than that, they are chanting and hearing and serving. So automatically they all develop the Vaishnava qualities naturally because of the association and because of the pleasing spiritual master in that specific particular service. So in this way, we can also see our kids slowly and gradually see what tendencies they have, what liking they have, what are their interest, and then gradually we can develop them into those specific things. We can try different things and see how it goes in 1 to 3 years, and then accordingly we will know at least what they like to do and what they are good at. So then we can do some mix and match, and then gradually we can engage them in that way.
Sure, thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, maybe it looks to be very simple question, but
Go ahead.
this question I got it when you are actually telling about Dhruva Maharaj.
Yes.
When Krishna, when Arjuna said, "I don't want to do fighting," and he encouraged to do fighting. because Pandavas were so much insulted. I mean, even Draupadi and everyone because of that, and they were not given any land to rule. So all these things caused distress, and they are ready to fight. And Krishna encouraged to fight. But here, in the case of Dhruva Maharaj, when his mother, I mean, when his stepmother actually, told that you cannot sit in Maharaj's lap, and you have to reborn again in my womb. Then only you are capable. So since they are also Kshatriyas, then why his mother did not encourage to fight against that way? Actually, she just told approach Lord so that he will help. This is a shanti. I mean, here it is something like a devotional. There it is something like a not devotional when it is coming to the Arjuna's case. So both are Kshatriyas.
Yes.
So why this slight difference actually? The way of approaching to fight back.
Yeah, both are the circumstances we have to see, and the situation is also a little bit different. The age is also we have to see. So the Dhruva Maharaj's case, he was only 5 years old, and he was looking to get the highest thing, because he couldn't sit on his father's lap, because his mother is thinking that I have the greatest treasure. I am the controlling power behind your father. I am the controller. I have this all opulence and everything. So in that way, she was thinking. Obviously, then Dhruva Maharaj thought, then this is nothing. I want to get more bigger than your thing. So he had the desire, and he had the Kshatriya spirit. But at the same time, he has been instructed by his mother, because at that point that is right to worship, because she cannot, by fighting at the 5 years old, neither she is in that capacity to do, because otherwise she could have fought. First of all, her quality is not in that mode. She is not in the same mold as Suruchi. Suruchi is in that mold of always putting somebody in distress, or in that mode. But Suniti is always pleasant. She is always in a Vaishnava etiquette. She is always knowing the principles. Kshatriya means you are supposed to protect the citizens. But Dhruva Maharaj is 5 years old, and she is not also in the position to protect the citizens. She is acting as a wife. She cannot do that. And neither, even if she instructs that Dhruva Maharaj, now you should fight back against your mother, can he attain anything? No, he cannot attain anything. Rather, if he has a mercy of a spiritual master, advanced devotees, and the Supreme Lord, yes, by their mercy, if anything can be done, this situation can be corrected. Yes, that can be done. But so that's why. But what she instructed indirectly, actually, it's a will of the providence. Indirectly, rather, stepmother instructed right way, and then because Suniti is in the West, she's a Vaishnavi. So she immediately understood this is the right instruction actually, even though it is indirectly coming, even though she is talking from envious way, but still she sees a positive point from that, and then instructed Dhruva Maharaj in that way. So Dhruva Maharaj is not in that position. Here Kshatriya's Arjuna's case, Arjuna is supposed to fight because he has the kingdom. He was already at that age. He is supposed to protect. And not only in their case, so many incidents has happened. Not only that, so many other kings who performed religious activities, so many other karmas are combined. So Krishna has to take care of so many other things, and this incident specific. So he has to teach the lesson. He has to establish dharma, so many things. But in Dhruva Maharaj's case, he was only 5 years old, and it is not appropriate for the time, place, circumstance. It is not his dharma to fight back, and so it is not congenial for his position. So that's why he's been instructed to worship, and then Narada Muni also tested his determination. When he sees that he is determined, and that's when Narada Muni also instructed, okay, if you want to do the same thing, rather you do after 15-20 years. Don't do it now, because you are a child. What you will do as a child? What you can do? You cannot rule. You are supposed to get education. You are supposed to be educated first, learn things. Then, when you are at the age, then you can fight back against your father or mother or whatever. So that's what Narada Muni told him. But he is not ready to leave. He wants to right away get it. He has that Kshatriya spirit. So that's why he's been told to worship. So, and then here Arjuna is already worshipping. They're all, Pandavas are always worshipping Krishna. So, but for them, this is the need of the hour is to fight. In Dhruva Maharaj's case, need of the hour is not to fight. At 5 years old, what he is going to do by fighting? He is not going to come to. There is no immediate threat. Dhruva Maharaj is only one person. This is not causing any threat to the whole kingdom or dynasty or nothing. It is actually internal family affairs actually. But that internal family affair has caused actually indirectly causing somebody to become a great devotee, learning from a mistake, coming from a indirectly in an envious way, but is a positive direction, positive point is being made. So in that way, we have to understand this particular Dhruva Maharaj's instruction. So Kshatriyas, but a different time, place, circumstance, different situation. Situation is not the same. So that's why the violence can be applied only when the situation is not is right, time, place, circumstances. That's what Prabhupada meant. That is what dharma means. Dharma means if the situation requires. That's why we cannot take. Dharma is very intricate to understand. So only it requires guidance. So that's why this before this happened, by all these sages, great sages, Vyasadeva and all of them been consulted. And obviously Supreme Lord Sri Krishna directly been brought, obviously. So that's how. Otherwise they didn't whimsically decide they should fight. In Dhruva Maharaj's case also, he didn't the mother was instructed, and then on top of it Dhruva Maharaj Narada Muni instructed. So then Narada Muni obviously knows, even though as a Kshatriya, he knows what he is supposed to do. That is the best thing he should do. Go back and worship Supreme Lord. And that is the best thing. So here also Arjuna and Pandavas worshipped Supreme Lord, and here Supreme Lord wanted him to desired him to fight. But in that case, Krishna didn't desire. Otherwise, he could have told Narada Muni, let him go and fight against his own father. I will give the power. No, that is not the need of hour. It is not causing disturbance to the kingdom of that particular place where Uttanapada was ruling. Uttanapada is actually great devotee. Swayambhu Manu's both sons, Uttanapada and Swayambhu, the Maharaj Priyavrata, both are not ordinary souls. This particular incident has a different instruction than this Arjuna's case. So that's how we have to look at this specific two incidents.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice. Yeah. Very nice.
We'll stop here already 9:58. Tomorrow evening onward, there is a 6-day course of Science of Self-Realization, 7 to 9. So tomorrow Bhagavatam class will not be there because I have to speak from 8 to 9 on the topics of understanding this knowledge, introduction of Bhagavad Gita. Madhubhat Prabhu and myself, we are taking first day course of Science of Understanding Bhagavad Gita from the Vedas, how to receive knowledge, who is Guru, what is the qualification of Guru, what is the qualification of disciple, the relationship, what are the 5 subject matters. All these are covered in tomorrow's topic, Saturday evening, 7 to 9 p.m. Zoom link will post the flyer. Then other days, 5 days, other devotees are going to take what is soul and what is who is God, who is the, and then relationship, and then practical application, yoga ladder, material nature, karma, time, and then yoga ladder, and then practical applications. So in this way, 6-day course starting from tomorrow until Thursday. Friday Gita Jayanti, everything will be online from 4:30 to 6:30 or 7 will be the Yajna online. The chanting recitation will be online on Zoom on Friday. And Sunday morning, not this Sunday, this Sunday morning 8 to 9 Govardhan Bhakta Prabhu is speaking on Gita Mahatmya. The next Sunday morning is Veda Vyasa Pri Maharaj is speaking from 8 to 9 on the essence of Gita. Please take his association. Maharaj is very expert in presenting Bhagavad Gita. So by the name itself you can see Prabhupada has named him Veda Vyasa Pri Maharaj. Veda Vyas. Vyasadev is the one who has compiled all this. So Maharaj speaks very nicely. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Gandhara, Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki jai, Prabhupada ki jai.